Hi, my name is Dave. In this video, I'll be covering on the understanding of transaction volume, options volume, and open interest. Stock has its own volume. Options has its own volume as well. Let's go and understand them now. First, let's start with the understanding of some terminology used inside this video. When you see this image, this is known as call options contract. When you see this image, this is known as put options contract. And the number inside the call options contract would mean the number of option contracts. In this case, when the number 1 is shown, it means one call option contract. Let's see another example. In this example, when 2 is shown, it means 2 put option contracts. Let's talk about call option contracts first. In the first transaction, Jimmy buys one new call options contract from the seller Jane. In this scenario, Jimmy is opening one new call options contract for this transaction. There is a transaction volume of one options contract. In another transaction, Peter sells 2 new call options contract to the buyer Marcus. In this scenario, Peter is opening 2 new call options contract in this transaction. There is a transaction volume of 2 options contracts. So in total, there's a total of 2 transactions consisting of 3 call options contract. As you can see, it does not matter whether you are buying the call option contracts or selling the call options contracts. As long as they are open as new contracts, they will be added together to form the total number of contracts. With this understanding, let's move on. How about put options contract? Similarly, in the first transaction, Jimmy buys 2 new put options contract from the seller Jane. In this scenario, Jimmy is opening 2 new put options contract for this transaction. There is a transaction volume of 2 options contract. In another transaction, Peter sells 4 new put options contract to the buyer Marcus. In this scenario, Peter is opening 4 new put options contract in this transaction. There is a transaction volume of 4 put options contract. So in total, there's a total of 2 transactions consisting of 6 put options. So as you can see, it does not matter whether you are buying the put options or selling the put options contracts. As long as they are open as new contracts, they will be added together to form the total number of contracts. So, transaction volume is the number of contracts exchanged between a pair of buyer and seller or a pair of seller and buyer. Many transactions can occur in the marketplace. It can be a transaction of 1 contract or another transaction of 2 contracts. The transaction of 1 options contract means the transaction volume is 1. If the transaction is of 2 contracts, it means the transaction volume is 2. There can be many transactions in one trading session. Whether is it of volume 2, 5, 1, or even 6. The total of the transaction volume for one trading session is called the options volume. In this case, this is the call options volume. Similarly, put options contract has its own put options volume as well. And there are many transactions in one trading session. It can be a transaction volume of 2, 5, 1, or even 6. Do note that the total of all the transaction volume for the put contracts for one trading session is known as the options volume. In this case, this is the put options volume. Options volume is the total transaction volume for one trading session. For more complete definition, options volume is the number of options contracts being exchanged between buyers and sellers, and it measures the activity of options contracts for one trading session. As you can see, we started with the transaction volume between buyer and seller, as well as seller to buyer. And many transactions can occur within one day. The total transaction volume for one trading session is known as the options volume. As the day passes by, the options volume for each and every day is accumulated, and they form the overall number, which is called the open interest. Open interest is the total transaction volume accumulated over many days. In other words, open interest is the total options volume accumulated over many days. So, open interest is the total transaction volume accumulated over a period of trading sessions. A more complete definition is, open interest is the number of option contracts that are still open and held by traders and investors. These options have not been closed out, expired, or exercised. Just to summarize, transaction volume is the number of contracts exchanged between a pair of buyer and seller, or a pair of seller and buyer. Options volume is the total transaction volume for one trading session. Open interest is the total transaction volume accumulated over a period of trading sessions. Thanks for watching this video. You can watch more free videos at WhaleTrades.com.